All right, well, good afternoon. I think a couple of things before we dive into the meat and potatoes. Of course, the sun has been out for a little bit, so I think we've gotten a wonderful reprieve just about when the snow is falling the hardest. It stopped and the sun came out. So I think we actually, from a city perspective, are in a pretty good position this afternoon. And we're expecting relatively warm temperatures tonight. So we feel good, relatively speaking, again, about ice and so forth. That certainly is a concern going forward for us, but we're not expecting any more snow tomorrow or tonight. And luckily, it seems actually unusually warmer tonight than it was last night. So a little bit about the city this morning. Number one is that we want to remind folks you can always look at cavq.gov for any updates. Also call 311. But in general, this morning was obviously a little bit challenging, especially with respect to roads. The sort of slush conditions made it very tough, especially on any roads that are sort of going downhill, lead and coal, even 528 on the west side. But in general, we'll give an APD update. Things were actually relatively smooth this morning. And that's also because we had 25 trucks out this morning, and we continue to be ready on a 72-hour shift with our snowplow force. We're running 11 this evening, as well as 10 overnight. Now, the only other really highlights I would share from my end is a reminder. We're going to talk about our unhoused folks, but we know that actually we have a bed available for everyone. That is the key to remember. Now, whether or not they choose to get it is one question. The other question is if we can get transport out to them. But our ACS department runs emergency transport for homeless individuals who want it throughout the night, and they will too tonight as well. So with that, on some more details on this, let's start with some on road safety from our DMD director, Pat Montoya.
Thank you, Mayor, and that was a great recap on what is actually taking place and what's going to take place this evening. Just to reemphasize what the Mayor has said, we had roughly 25 trucks out from early this morning up until about 2:30. They did an excellent job, and I just want to thank our crews and our supervisor, Joseph, and others for being out and being diligent about making sure that the streets, the roads that we were on were cleared. As many of you know, we start with our main arterials, so we hit the major streets to begin with, such as Montgomery and Lomas and Louisiana. Then we go to our collector streets, which would be Lead, Cole, Carlisle. We do not do the residential streets. With the temperatures at 43 degrees right now and scheduled to rise to about 47, we are going to see a considerable amount of the snow thawing and wet streets through the evening. As the Mayor mentioned, the temperatures are not going to drop as drastically as they did last night. We anticipate anywhere between 37 degrees and about 27 degrees in the Northeast Heights. So there will be some freezing this evening. I want to just mention again that we will have 11 trucks out from 2:30 to about 10:30. And then we have a full crew that is on standby if they need to come in. The storm is scheduled to move out by later this evening. Sunny skies for tomorrow. For those of you that are going to the Super Bowl game, to a friend's house or whatever, the streets should not be an issue for you. Aside from that, we are prepared through the week. We have another light storm coming in on Wednesday, we believe, but our crews will be ready for that storm as well. So with that, again, I just want to say a big thank you to the crews that are out there, that were going to be out there this evening. We remind the motoring public that we ask you to stay at least 50 feet from one of the trucks. It's for your own safety and for the safety of our drivers. Also, just be cautious and careful with pedestrians that are out on the streets. We're out here on Civic Plaza. As you can see, it's relatively slushy right now. Again, this evening, we think some of this is going to turn to ice. So with that, thank you for your patience and your understanding this morning. It was a tough morning for a lot of our drivers, but we were out there, we did what we needed to do, and our streets are clear this morning and this afternoon. With that, Mayor, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Pat. And with a little bit on our work with the unhoused community and vulnerable individuals, our CAO, Samantha Single.
Thank you all for being out to hear about what's been going on and what we're doing. Just as a reminder, the City of Albuquerque is committed to making sure that anyone that wants a warm bed, that we have them available, and we do have those available. Also warm meals as well. In November, we opened additional beds for the winter season at the Gateway Health Hub to ensure that there were 35 additional beds there. And we also have beds, obviously, at our West Side shelter. We'll add additional beds if the demand is there to ensure that anyone has a bed available to them that wants one. Additionally, the Albuquerque Community Safety Team will continue to provide transport to our shelters, and that is available if you dial 311 during the day hours. And then in the evening from 8 p.m. to 7 a.m., 7 days a week, anyone can dial 505-549-0044 to request assistance for transport to a shelter and to ensure anyone has the opportunity to have that. And just to remember, anyone that wants to see any support during the day, anyone in the community can dial 311 to ask for support, whether that's they see someone that may need support or someone that needs transport themselves. Thank you.
All right, and a little bit from our first responders, Deputy Chief Vega and Commander Lopez.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is George Vega. I'm Deputy Chief with the Albuquerque Police Department. Just want to give you an update on how the morning went for us accident-wise. We had a total of 34 accidents that were called in. 26 of those were accidents that did not involve injury. 8 of those did involve injury. No major injuries reported at this time. I do want to give an update for any folks that are involved in an accident. We are requesting that they file a station report if there is no injuries. I would direct them to the cabq.gov/police so they can look at the list of substations that are close to them. We do have a few of the substations that are open over the weekend, and they can find those times and dates that they're open on that website. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Keller. My name is Joe Lopez, Shift Commander with Albuquerque Fire Rescue. Good afternoon. This morning, we started seeing snow about 6 a.m. We're very fortunate in Albuquerque Fire Rescue that all our frontline apparatus are equipped with snow chains that can be quickly put on and off of our trucks. As you can see, just a few hours later, those snow chains are going to have to come off to keep us available for service. We haven't had any reported delays in response times this morning, and other than a slight uptick in motor vehicle accidents reported, it's been business as usual for Albuquerque Fire Rescue. We haven't had any reported accidents involving apparatus as well. And on a quick safety note, please remember during inclement weather and all conditions, please, when emergency crews are working on the side of the road, please remember to slow down and pull away from those firefighters working on the streets. Thank you.
Thanks, Commander. And then we'll close with just a couple of updates on city services. We did have to close the zoo this morning. Most of that was because of workers having trouble getting in, but also slip and fall situations that would have been an issue with all the sidewalks. The Valentine's Market at the rail yards was actually awesome. It was open and there were like 1,000+ people there. So that actually worked out great, and we did run Park and Ride. That will be open tomorrow. The zoo should be open tomorrow. We also did have to close our tennis facilities, golf courses, and pools. And our open space center is going to be closing early today. But all the regular hours should return tomorrow. And on sort of a little bit more fun note, there obviously is a big Lobo game tonight. So we are just asking folks to be a little extra patient. You know, there's always lots of traffic. It's a sold-out game. But especially because first responders might be stretched a little bit thin, a little extra patience tonight for that. And then a historic snow, because this was also the first time, I think, in 3 years that Sandia ski area opened. So didn't get a chance to go up there today, but we want to invite the whole town up tomorrow to ski and get back in time for the Super Bowl. All right, so with that, I think we'll do questions.
Yeah, we mentioned the unhoused folks in the beds. Do you guys have any numbers that you would be able to share on numbers of beds available at which shelters, like Westside Shelter, Gateway, stuff like that?
So we've got a couple of numbers. We did expand. We opened an additional 35 beds to a total of 85 at our emergency winter shelter at the Gateway. There's still, and I'm just going to ballpark it, between 50 and 150 slots available at the Westside shelter, depending on what the demand looks like tonight. So, you know, I think it continues to be one of those situations where, unfortunately, our shelters are very, very full, but there is still room.
In regards to the accidents that were reported, was there any injuries, or was everybody pretty much okay?
That was just a total of 8 traffic accidents. It did involve injuries, but there was no major injuries. And when I look back at last week's at this time traffic accidents, there was an uptick, but nothing major.
For the fire department, have you seen an uptick in outside fires?
Are you talking specifically to the snowstorm or in general?
Snowstorm and the weather like this.
I looked up a few numbers. Today, I think we had 7 outside fires from, I started running the report at 6 o'clock this morning to about 1 o'clock this afternoon. So 7 is pretty in line with what we normally see.
Just for general response and reaction, were you guys surprised this morning as much as I was when you saw the amount of snow that was coming? Anyone is welcome to answer that, because I was shocked.
Yeah. I think the good news is credit to DMD, which is our street crews, and Pat and his team. They were not surprised. So I got an email last night that they were ready. But I was totally surprised. My daughter had a basketball game, and that was the only game of the day because it was the first game. So, I think all of us walked out about 10 o'clock. For me, it was out of a county basketball gym, and we were just like, what happened? All of a sudden winter came. So, but equally as surprised, just about the time we were really gearing up for a tough night, the sun came out. So that's been today's roller coaster ride.
For the road crews then, is 25 vehicles top capacity for you, full capacity you would say, or how does that look?
Actually, top capacity for us would be 42 trucks, and that's a blade in front and a spreader on the backside.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for coming out, and y'all drive safely today, too, as you're going around town.